Dragon's Prophet open beta details emerge, EA discusses gameplay mechanics for their upcoming MOBA Dawngate, Obsidian and Al-lods team up to create the MMO Skyforge, Cryptic devs discuss life in Neverwinter's post-caturday, and more on this week's episode of Free to Play Weekly. I'm Squid, also known as Spunkify's wife, covering for Hannah, who has unfortunately dropped out due to personal reasons, but don't get too comfy, as I'm only a guest host. During the League of Legends All-Star Tournament in Shanghai, Riot Games unveiled a completely redesigned version of their cancelled Magma Chamber map. While the original was intended to provide 5-man teams with smaller, more tactical fights across the large map, this new iteration is designed for just 1v1 and 2v2 fights, with the overall map significantly smaller than its predecessor. Unfortunately, the reveal is serving as little more than a sneak peek, with the public release slated for some time before the launch of Season 4. Until then, Riot says they have plenty of tech challenges to tackle, along with more testing and optimization before they're comfortable releasing it to the masses. However, eager players will be happy to know the map is set to hit the public beta servers sometime before the official release. May MOBA madness continues with the news of BigPoint's first gameplay trailer for their upcoming browser-based shooter MOBA, Merc Elite. While there was initially speculation on how the shooter MOBA would handle, we can now see it will retain a familiar camera perspective, while adding additional cover mechanics, tweaked fog of war, and directional attacks similar to those found in other top-down shooters. From the trailer, the game certainly has more of a shooter vibe than a MOBA, as we saw no signs of lanes or creeps, but found instead domination to be the trumpeted game mode. That's not to say a MOBA needs those things to be a true MOBA, but besides the individual classes having access to a set of activatable abilities, the game seems to lend itself more towards a top-down shooter set in an arena. And what shooter isn't set in some sort of arena? Still, the game possesses some interesting gameplay, and I'm sure many of us welcome the idea of a MOBA that attempts to stray away from the mechanics that others seem so eager to copy instead. Merc Elite's closed beta is currently underway, with signups open on the official website. For most games, open beta is a chance to iron out the last few bugs, balance issues, and UI problems before officially launching. Other times it's a frustrating sea of glitches, exploits, and crashes that can wreak havoc at the peak of the MMO's attempt to capture their audience's attention. Unfortunately for developer Cryptic, Neverwinter Online's recent problems seem to lean toward the latter, from a massive economy-crippling currency exploit to players creating speed-leveling dungeons by abusing mob placement, and even glitches that allowed players to one-shot heroic bosses. After shutting down the server for hours, closing the auction house for almost a week, and implementing a 7-hour player rollback deemed Caturday, the team at Cryptic has put Neverwinter back on track. As a way of thanking gamers for continuing to play through such setbacks, a small package was given to all characters called the Caturday Survivors Pack, which among other things include a cape of catastrophe and a dwarven face mask. Not okay with leaving the situation as is, Neverwinter's lead producer, Andy Velasquez, released a very honest and detailed news post discussing where the game currently sits. In the post, he candidly reviews several of the issues the game has and had up to this point, and how the development team worked to resolve them. He also touched on some of the more critical improvements the devs have planned for the MMO, which include improving network connectivity and addressing character balance in order to ensure all classes are both glitch-free and, most importantly, enjoyable to play across all content. There was also talk of Neverwinter's first raid, which is scheduled to be added within the next few weeks. New companions, zones, mounts, mechanics, paragon paths, and a new range class are also all on the horizon. If you'd like to know more about what's going on with Neverwinter, be sure to check out the full article on MMOBomb.com. Not content with their recent $3,986,929 Kickstarter success, Project Eternity, Obsidian Entertainment has been announced as the co-developers of the up-and-coming free-to-play MMO, Skyforge. What's more, the developers will be working in conjunction with Al-lods team, the developers of Al-lods Online. News of the MMO broke at this year's Russian game developer conference KRI, which, admittedly, we've never actually heard of. So far, all we know about Skyforge is that it began development in 2010, will utilize some form of tab targeting, has 15 unique classes, and will feature no level progression. It's still unclear how much Obsidian will be involved in Skyforge's production, or when we can expect to see any signs of a beta, let alone gameplay in general. Cue up the Pokemon theme song, because later this week, players will be able to fight, capture, and train over 300 unique dragons during the Dragon's Prophet Open Beta. Both Sony Online Entertainment and Infernum, the regional publishers of Dragon's Prophet, announced the MMO would be headed into open beta starting May 30th. To celebrate, the publishers have dissolved the NDA, allowing everyone to capture and share gameplay. And of course, MMOBomb already has you covered with the first look of the dragon taming MMO. A new trailer was also released and features plenty of appropriately themed music alongside shots of dragons with their trainers doing, you know, dragony things. Personally, I'd recommend muting the trailer and playing the Pokemon theme over it instead, resulting in a combination that may surprise you. When EA hopped on the bandwagon last week with the announcement of their upcoming MOBA Dawngate, one could instantly feel the collective groan of 1,000 gamers. Obviously, the question was never if EA would make a MOBA, but when. I think the most surprising aspect of the announcement is that it took them this long to do so. The official website does little to reveal details surrounding Dawngate, but a new video from Machinima has surfaced giving us a first look at the mechanics within. Some of the video highlights include a heavy focus on lore, only 2 creep lanes, secondary objectives, regenerating towers, and evolving minions. Secondary objectives come in the way of spirit wells, which are situated off the beaten path and serve as strategic capture points which produce minions that can harvest resources, much in the same way workers in traditional RTS do. These workers produce gold for your team and can be killed by an enemy in order to disrupt the flow of income. If no workers are left, the enemy can then capture the point and begin producing income from that spirit well. Minions and towers are also becoming less static. Towers, which are called bindings in Dawngate, serve as both traditional defensive installations and inhibitors. If an enemy's tower is destroyed, a specific allied minion called a Strider powers up and gains additional stats and abilities. This can happen multiple times as bindings are taken out, putting increased pressure on the respective lane. However, bindings slowly rebuild themselves over time, which allow players to regain some control over a lane and rebind the Striders, removing their unlocked power. Hopefully this leads to closer games and fewer runaways caused by one team's early game dominance. All these things sound fine and dandy, but whether these changes amount to a new MOBA experience players want to play is an entirely different discussion. It shouldn't take too long to find out though, as a beta just went live last week. And the game of the week is Gotham City Impostors. Gotham City Impostors is a free-to-play FPS developed by Monolith Productions. In GCI, players take to the street as violent vigilantes dressed like the Cape Crusader and Joker wannabes, engaged in an all-out war in Gotham City. The game offers an over-the-top FPS experience with exaggerated colorful characters and interesting levels set in places such as an amusement park, skyscraper rooftops, and even the Arkham Asylum. Players can level up and gain access to a wide variety of gadgets and guns, including grappling hooks, katanas, glider wings, boomerangs, and a jack-in-the-box proximity mine. Players can create loadouts which tailor everything from their weapon attachments and perks to even the character's body size, appearance, and voice style. The shooter comes with 4 different game modes, including the familiar deathmatch, along with some more unique modes like Psych Warfare, which has the teams trying to capture a battery and defend it long enough to spread their propaganda. Another mode, Fumigation, sees players attempting to capture and hold gas blasters until they stored enough gas to unleash and suffocate the enemy team. If you're looking for a shooter that offers unconventional tactics, interesting game modes, and eccentric weapons, then be sure to check out Gotham City Impostors. Thanks for tuning in, humans, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, or leave us a comment down below. If you want to learn more about the information from this week's news, be sure to head over to MMOBomb.com. It's been lovely, and we'll see you next time.